Hello and welcome to Tip-TV Mining, brought to you by Blytheway. I'm Charlie Gibson. Now, as acute observers of this program will know, that one of the very, very rarest minerals in the whole of the mining industry is profits. Only slightly less rare than dividends. One of the companies, though, that we've got for you today is one of those most rare companies that actually produces profits. And it produced as much profit in the first quarter of this year as it did in the whole of last year. Its shares, which started the year at about 11.5 cents, they're listed in Canada on the CSE, and they're currently almost double that. They're about 19.5, and they have been as high as 33.5 cents. So there's lots of money to be made there. Well, joining us now in the studio is their Chief Executive, Steve Williams. Steve, very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us, Pasinex, how you're doing it and who you're doing it with, where you're doing it. I know your assets are in Turkey, but tell us all about them.
Okay, there's a lot of questions there. So this is a story about zinc. We're singly focused on zinc. This is a story about high grade. It's a very high grade deposit. We're actually blessed by mining something that's 32% zinc. So at that grade, we just mine it, we crush it, and we sell it. So it's about high grade. It's about production. And this year we're going to do 60,000 tonnes of production, which is worth something of the order of about 25 million US in revenue. And it's about profitability. One of the great advantages of mining in Turkey is that it's very cost competitive. So we're actually spinning off something of the order of about a 50% margin, which we pre-tax, which we showed in quarter one of this year, and I believe that we'll continue to show it. Our quarter two results will be out late in August, and I think you'll see similar sort of numbers. And that's all great. So zinc, high grade, production, profitability, but we're just beginning. That's the other part of the story. We're early up in the exploration, and there's a lot more zinc, I think, to be found where we are in Turkey.
So I can tell that, obviously, from your accent, that you're probably from Western Australia. So what I'm wondering is, how did you end up in Turkey?
Oh dear, that's a long voyage. That's a long voyage.
Well, I know. That's why I'm asking.
Right. Oh, I guess it's pretty simple, really. I always loved rocks. As a little kid, I loved rocks, and so I always.
You're a geologist by trade.
I'm actually a metallurgist.
Oh, okay.
Metallurgy is about the extraction of the metal from the rock, but as a metallurgist, you start to learn a lot about the rocks because
you've got to get the metal out of them.
Exactly. So you need to know about the rocks anyhow, and so I know a fair bit of geology.
So you're an amateur geologist. You picked it up along the way.
Yeah, I've picked up one or two little tidbits. Yeah. Anyhow, so I went into mining and studied metallurgy at the WA School of Mines in Kalgoorlie, West Australia. Later, I did an MBA from Tulane University in New Orleans. But my passion,
which was more fun.
Oh, that's tricky. They were both fun.
For different reasons or for the same
different reasons?
Okay.
For different reasons. But anyhow, once you like rocks and you like mining, well, I've spent my whole life in mining. And when you're in mining, a couple of things. First of all, it's a global industry. It takes you all around the world. And Canada. I live in Canada now, but I worked in Chile. I've done work in Mongolia, in the Philippines, in the Dominican Republic. So you go all around the world. That's what mining does, and that hence finally leads you to Turkey. Geology leads you to Turkey. And the other thing is, I'm getting later in my career.
You're more distinguished.
More distinguished, but that really wasn't the point. I'm later in my career, and to me, sort of bringing a career together is about ultimately building a company, building a mine. Or actually, I'd like to build several mines and make some money for shareholders and investors. It's sort of the culmination of a career in mining is that, take all your knowledge, put it together, and get something that, it's a good company, a good mine.
So were you always a zinc man? Was that your favoured metal? Or you said you're in Chile. I assume you're doing sort of copper porphyries or something.
Yeah, when you're in Chile, you do copper, and copper. But base metals, I very much, one of my early mines in Australia that I worked in was a copper lead zinc mine. And I've worked in a lead zinc mine in Canada. So, yeah, I've been very much rooted in base metals. So I've done a lot of zinc. And, you know, there was no question when we started to put Pasinex together. I wanted to be in base metals. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, I really like commodity. You know, I like transparency on metal prices, transparency on contracts. You know, some metals are not transparent. I like transparency. That was one of the drivers for going into base metals. The other one was that felt most comfortable there because I know a lot about base metals, yeah.
Okay. So your mine is called Pinal Gazoo,
Correct.
is that right?
Yep.
And it's a 50-50 joint venture.
Yep.
With Metal.
Metal, yes.
So tell us about Pinal Gazoo. Why do we want to invest in it?
Oh, it's a great mine. It's spectacular. It's what's called a carbonate replacement zinc.
Go on, for the non-geologists.
Yeah, for the...
Give us bluff your way in geology.
It's very high grade. It's in situ, natural high grade. We're mining, as I said, about 60,000 tonnes this year, 32% zinc, and there's a lot more there. That's the oxides, and you get the oxides at the top of the deposit.
And they're easy to process?
Yeah, we don't have to do any processing. We sell it to the zinc refiners, so they take it and they make zinc metal.
Right. And then is it exactly the same, because you're going to go on to the sulfides later?
I'm going to go to the sulfides.
Is it going to be as easy to sell to them in sulfide form? Or?
It actually gets better, because sitting below the oxides, and we're starting to see the sulfides now, you get the sulfides, because you know these systems start as sulfides, and then as they come near the surface, they get oxidized to make the oxide. So the roots are sulfides, and there's a lot of roots here. The in situ grade of the sulfides, we see up to 60% pure zinc or high-grade zinc in situ underground at Pinal Gazoo. We've been mining, we started to mine the sulfides, we're mining at about 48% zinc. So the grade is higher in the sulfides than in the oxides. Back to that little bit of geology I did, which is carbonate replacement zincs. It's very similar to the zinc-silver deposits you see in Mexico and Peru. A lot of the high-grade silver deposits in Mexico are carbonate replacement zincs. Anyhow, these systems run kilometres. The ones in Mexico run kilometres, so that you can have this sort of mineralisation for 3, 4, 5 kilometres. We're just beginning. We're down about 300 metres, not even half a kilometre yet.
Which is nothing in underground mining terms, really.
It's nothing in underground mining terms because it's early in its life, and we know that these systems can run a long way. We don't know whether ours does or not, but we think there's a good chance.
Presumably you're doing the exploration drilling.
We're doing a lot of drilling, and we're following it. You've got to follow it. You can't just go drill out there. You have to follow it systematically like this. We call it following the noodle. You follow the noodle, and at this stage it keeps going down deeper.
A gift that keeps on giving, so to speak. You've got this high grade, and you're selling it as direct shipping ore.
Yeah.
Is it possible you're giving up some of the upside by selling it in that form? Should you not process it more?
Of course, there's always some. I mean, one of the things about
you're a metallurgist, aren't you?
yeah, I'm a metallurgist, so I know all about this upside and what's being given away and what's not being given away. Yes, you are giving something away, but the question is the return on capital invested to go and get that incremental piece that you're giving away. And you know, the fact is, we would have to invest a significant amount of more money to take it from what we make to zinc metal, 99.99. And you know, at the moment, it's better just to sell it to the people who already have invested that capital and let them do it.
And this is a traditionally producing zinc region, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. That's a good question you just asked. That's very much the story of Turkey. You know, Turkey, it's great geology. It's the reason we went to Turkey. It's great geology because it's highly faulted, it's tectonically active. This area has had, and when I say the area, an area of 160 kilometres by about 100 kilometres. This area has had a long history of small-scale artisanal zinc miners, you know, going back the 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, going in and mining a small tonnage of, you know, maybe 100 tonnes, a few hundred tonnes, or a few thousand tonnes.
And did they sell it to the same smelter?
No, there used to be a smelter actually in Turkey. There's not now, but there used to be one in Turkey that was taking that material. We're going a bit further afield now. But they were mining the stuff and selling the stuff. The point that they didn't do, and the difference with us now, is that they didn't do any exploration. What they basically did was mine it, and where they saw it, they'd mine it and keep following it, and when they lost it, well, they lost it. What we've been doing is understanding the geology, the controls on the geology, drilling, and that enables us to go a lot beyond being an artisanal miner.
So is the big prize for you the skarn that might be at the centre
Yes.
of this system? It is, and you're looking for that at the same time?
Yes. If you back to these, types of deposits you see in Mexico, classic you've got me going on in geology. You shouldn't have done that. Classically, you have a magma intrusion, and then around that you get the mineralization, and that's what's called the skarn. And then you have these arms coming out, and you can have several of these arms. We're actually on what we're mining is one of the tips of one of these arms. Deeper down, the model says there should be, or there's a chance of being, that would be better words, there's a chance of being a skarn, which is a much higher tonnage, tends to be lower grade, polymetallic, copper, lead, zinc. You start to get a bit of copper in that system as well, copper, lead, zinc. And again, if you look at some of the deposits in Mexico, they have found these skarns, and they are mining these skarns, and that's where they get significantly higher tonnage. That is the big prize. And we like to think it's there, but we haven't found it yet. We need to do a lot more exploration, but certainly we see the opportunity.
And perfect for you as a metallurgist, of course. One final question, because we're just running short of time.
Okay.
Is there any prospect of a dividend in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, well, that's a good question as well. I mean, this year, up to now, all the cash that we've been making out of the mine has gone back into mine development. We built this from the boots up, and we took all the money we made and just kept doing more mine development, more drilling. This year, we're going to have a very profitable year, I believe. We do what we're saying we're going to do. We'll have a very profitable year. So this year, we've got a chance of having free cash above and beyond our needs for ongoing development, ongoing exploration. The question of dividends, a good question, and I got to tell you, we've had a lot of loyal shareholders that held us through tough times and enabled us to do what we're now doing. So at some point, we do need to reward those loyal shareholders. I can't tell you black and white at the moment whether we're going to do that or not, because we haven't made that decision. It's still a bit early in the year, but I can tell you it's on our mind.
Excellent. All right. Well, with that, thank you very much indeed, Steve. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but we'll look forward. Come back again and tell us how it's doing. Tell us when you made that decision and what the decision is, how much it is, and what shareholders can expect. We'll look forward to it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today, but join us again next week. We'll be bringing you more insightful and hopefully profitable ideas in the space of mining. That was Steve Williams, the Chief Executive of Pasinex. Brought to you by Tip TV Mining. I'm Charlie Gibson. You have a capital day.